Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David A. Cox with TechTalkAmerica.com, and today I'm going to be giving you a whole bunch of different tips and tricks to help better organize your photos using Apple's Photos application. Now, by the way, my apologies if I sound a little froggish. This is that time of the year where here on Cape Cod the weather tends to dip, and so do our immune systems. I'm fighting a bit of a cold, so please forgive me if I sound not quite like myself. So I'm just going to give you a bunch of little tips and tricks. I hope these help. I always appreciate hearing feedback. So if you want, when you're done with this, you can leave a comment below if you do like it. If you maybe are watching us on our YouTube channel, you can hit that little thumbs up like button. We do appreciate that. So let's begin. Now, there are several different ways that you can organize your photos, and it's one of these things where everyone has their own opinions on these things, and of course, so do I. Now, one of the ways that Apple gives you a way to kind of sort of organize your photos is through events. I have said this several times before. I am personally not the biggest fan of events. I think it's very useful when you're doing something like a dramatic trip, like a vacation, where you are clearly in a physically different place and everything is shot with an iPhone, so it's tagging the location. But it doesn't work that great for other things. For me, I'm a big fan of more manual methods like albums, but also smart albums. I'm going to be showing you how to use both of those and a few tricks for how to quickly add photos to each of those. So why don't we begin? So one of the first things I wanted to tackle today is an issue that does not affect everyone. So if you're not affected by this, you can probably safely skip ahead by about 2 to 3 minutes in the video. But for people who have an iOS device, meaning an iPhone or an iPad, and maybe in retrospect you should have bought one that's a little bit bigger in storage capacity. So if that describes you and you just cannot fit your entire photo library on your iOS devices, let me give you a trick. So one of the things that I used to do when I didn't have the 128 gigabyte iPhone was I would create a simple little album called My Best Photos, and I would manually sync those from my computer to my phone or iPad and leave the rest just kind of on my computer. So one of the tricks I want to show you as far as going through and creating that is to use favorites. So when you're going through your photos and you're trying to just kind of tag images for use in an album, you want to bring them all together. There's a really easy trick. So let's use, for example, this image right here. So if I want to tag that as a favorite, see that little heart icon? Well, I could click that, but there's actually an easier way to do it. Just simply hit the period key on your keyboard. And you'll notice it goes, there we go. So now it's a solid heart as opposed to one that's kind of open like that. So go through your photos and hit that little just period key, and what it will do is it's going to create an album. If you look over here on the left hand side, you can see it right here, called Favorites. And this is just a really easy way to pull data that's recent and put it somewhere. Okay, so we're not creating duplicates here, we're just simply telling it to note that particular image. So from here, what I would probably do is I would, like I said, create an album called My Best Photos or something to that extent. Easiest way to do this is go to File, and the second item down is New Empty Album. And you can call it whatever you want. We'll just call it Best Photos and hit OK. And now what we're going to do is we're going to select all of these photos that we've just tagged, and we're going to drag them and drop them into over here now, Best Photos. So in case you did not know this, the easiest way to select everything when you're in this kind of a situation is Command A. That's the hotkey for select all. That applies to way more than just photos. It's email, it's pretty much everything. So everything now is selected, and I can click and drag all of these, boom, into Best Photos. Now notice we're still here in Favorites, and what you want to do is when you're done with this tagging process, so that you can create other albums, you're going to want to clear those tags. So once again, you're going to want to select everything, Command A, and now if I hit the period key, notice it just kind of closed it because now there are no more tagged favorites. So if I wanted to maybe now create a new album of photos of my family, I could go and do the exact same process, just create a new album and title it whatever I want. Now, for those of you who, like I said, do not have space on your iPhone or iPad for all of your photos, what you would need to do at this point, I'm going to verbally walk you through it, okay? You would plug your, I'm just going to say phone, and just please know when I say phone, I mean iPhone and iPad. You'd plug your phone into your computer, and it should launch iTunes. And when it does that, you know how it'll show you the little phone icon at the top left within iTunes? You'd click on that, and it has all of your different categories of data that you can sync. It has apps, movies, TV shows, etc. Well, you'd go into Photos, and one of the options is manually sync specific albums. And from there, you would see, in this case, that little album here called Best Photos, and that will take care of it for you. So really, really easy way to do that. So let's go over a few other tricks as far as helping you kind of get organized here. Like I said, using favorites as a way to temporarily tag photos is a really, really handy feature. I'm going to show you a feature now that not everyone out there is going to care about this feature. I will tell you quite honestly, I don't really use this feature, but some people, especially those who have a ton of photos, may. Which is to use keywords. So using keywords is a manual process, but you can apply it just like we did with tags. You can apply it to multiple images at once. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use one for, let's say, beach photos. I live on Cape Cod. We go to the beach a lot. It's what we do. So if I want to do that, the first thing you are going to want to do is you need to make sure that this feature is enabled. So you'd go here to where it says View, and right about midway down we have Metadata. And from here, it's the second one right here, keywords. You would want to make sure that that is checked. Again, this is not for everyone, but if you care about it, this is how you do it. So from here, what I would probably do is I'm going to be individually selecting all the photos that would apply to this category. And when you want to select only specific items that are not necessarily all together, the way you do it is you hold on your keyboard the Command key. That would be the key. For most of you, it's going to be to the left or right of your spacebar, depending on, in my case, I'm American. On the American keyboard, it's to the left and right of the spacebar. So I'm holding down the Command key, and I'm just going to click on all of the beach photos. And yes, I know I'm skipping over a bunch of them here, but anyways, just a few to give you an idea of how this works. And now what you're going to do is we need to tell it what keywords we want to assign to this. So there's two different ways you can do it. My preferred way is usually a hotkey. So the way to get into the info of these photos is Command I. I is an info. The other way you can do it is you can secondary click, and it's the first option, Get Info. So you can see here we're pulling up the information for 6 photos in this case. And so to assign a keyword, all we have to do is click in this area. And if it's the very, very first time that you've ever done this, you will have to type out the entire word. In my case, I think I actually do have a keyword in here already for, I want to say ocean. I do. There you go. Ocean. So once you start typing it, it'll kind of pre-fill it for you. And then you can just hit enter, and it's now assigned to all of those photos. So if later on, let's say I have thousands and thousands of photos, I could go up here to search, and I could say, God, where is that photo from me at the beach? Well, I can just type in the word ocean, and there all of those photos are. Really, really easy way to do that. Again, not everyone cares about keywords, but some people do, so I thought I'd go over it. Another trick I want to show you is sometimes people want to organize their photos based on the date. So I'm going to give you 2 tricks to help you with this. One is how to create a smart album based on the date. The other is how to correct a very common issue if you have photos where the date is all screwy, like let's say you took the photo last week and it thinks that it was shot in 1890. I don't know, just that's what came to mind. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to go to File, and we're going to go to the third option down, a new smart album. So a smart album, for those of you who are familiar with the Apple Mail program, is very similar to how Rules works within Apple Mail. What we're going to do is we're going to create a series of terms and conditions. In this case, it's just going to be 1, and say if the photo meets these guidelines, it's going to automatically put it into an album for us. So let's say I want to have just an easy way to pull up all of my photos from 2014. Okay, well, I can just call the album 2014 and say, okay, if the photo date is in the range, okay, and I'll just manually type in January 1st, 2014 to December 31st, 2014. Check it out, 76 items matched that setting. So it's going to automatically take those photos and it's going to put them into an album. Very, very fast way to organize photos from that date. Now, when I was teaching this class live, one of the questions that came up was about the difference between albums and folders. It's basically hierarchy. Folders contain albums, okay? Folders do not contain photos. Folders contain albums which have photos in them. So an example where you might want to use something like a folder, let me actually wipe this out here. So maybe I want to do the different months of the year, okay, as a smart album, but I want those to be contained within a folder. Here's how I could do that theoretically. Go to File, and now we're going to do the fourth option down, New Folder. So in this case, I create a new folder. I'm going to call it 2014. Okay, and then within 2014, I'm going to create that new smart album, right? And so let me do if the, once again, the date is, and we'll just do in the range of, let's just do the first half of the year. Let's do 1/1/2014 to 30 days in June, I think. I never remembered that poem. Hit OK. And so voila, it's done that. And at this point, I'd probably want to change the title of this album. And we'll just secondary click on it, hit rename, and we'll call it, you know, January through June. Okay, so you saw how easy that is. So using smart albums, it's a really easy way to pull that kind of data. Now, one of the questions I received while I was teaching this class live was, well, what happens if I delete a photo in an album? All an album really is it's just saying that that photo also lives here. It is not actually duplicating it. So, for example, if I go ahead and I delete that photo is still, where was that photo? It's right in here. See, it's right there. The photos are still safe. If you delete photos from albums, they are still in your photo library. This right here at the top left of photos, that is the photo library. That's everything. That's the guts. So don't worry about it if you accidentally delete photos from your albums, okay? They're still there in the computer. They're still there in the photo library. It just means you have to bring them back. Which actually brings me to a point that I hadn't planned on making. In case you didn't know it, let's say you do make some sort of a horrible mistake and you need to step backwards. In case you didn't know, the universal command for undo, and yes, everyone should know this, is Command Z as in zebra. So a lot of the commands are the same on a PC. It's just instead of command, it's control. Okay, the next issue I want to show you, one I just alluded to a few minutes ago, which is if you have an issue with the date. This I typically find comes in one of two forms. If someone emails you a photo and it loses that bit of metadata, or let's say you have a digital camera and the internal battery dies, it can reset the date to like 1984 or something like that. But clearly, when you look at your photo library, you would usually see at the very top here, you'd see a few photos that's like, I don't remember being, alive in 1890. So in that case, it's a sign that maybe you need to change the date. So here's how you can do that. Now, I've already covered how to select all and how to select individual images, but what if, just work with me here, pretend every photo from here through here has the wrong date. The other method for selecting multiple items is to click on the first one, hold the Shift key, and then click on the last one, and you'll notice that everything in between is now highlighted. So if you ever need to go through and fix this kind of an issue, you'd select the photos that have the wrong date, go up here to where it says Image, and it's the very first one right here. See, it says Adjust Date and Time. You can also adjust the location, by the way, if you care about that aspect. Most people don't. So you could put in whatever date it actually is. If you don't know exactly, you can just get it generally so that it's within the right year. At least that way it kind of goes with the other photos that it should be near. And hit Adjust. Pretty cool, right? Next issue is one just to help you, again, as you're going through and cleaning up your photo library, is inevitably plenty of people out there have photos where it should be like this, but it looks like that. So if you need to just very, very quickly rotate photos, there's no need to go into editing mode. It's very simple. Just simply click on it and hit Command R as in rotate appropriately. And the more times you hit it, the more times it'll flip it. You can use this while selecting multiple photos, but it only works if they are all the same orientation and they are all currently oriented the wrong way. So just be aware of that. Another aspect I did want to at least touch on in regards to getting organized with your photos is what do you do if you have duplicates? This is a problem that a lot of people have, and I'm going to offer you a solution. It is not a perfect solution, but it does work, and we've actually already done a whole class on this. If you have the issue of a lot of duplicates, and by a lot I mean probably more than 100, then there is a piece of software that I would recommend called Power Photos. And if you need to learn how to use Power Photos, I strongly recommend you take the class before you purchase the software. But I will include a link to where you can watch that separate class in the description of this video. It will help you out. It's just, frankly, they could have built the software better, so it's good. It's just not as good as it could be, in my opinion. And finally, before we go, the last little piece of advice I want to give you is in regards to backing up your data. Now, in my opinion, I think that everyone should have 2 backups of their data. And what's great with the way that iCloud works is iCloud can count as one of those methods. So what I would strongly recommend you consider doing is the free version of iCloud just really is not enough for 99% of people. I recommend going, if you just pay $1 a month, you go up to 50 gigabytes of cloud storage. And that way, if something happens to your computer, if there's a fire, if there's a flood, if your computer is stolen, you can sign into iCloud and still get back your photos. And that's worth well more than $1 a month. So if you haven't already set this feature up, what you would need to do is go into the Apple icon at the top left of your computer, go into System Preferences. From here, you'd go into iCloud, and then from here, where it says Photos, you'd want to go into Options and have this top option selected. Now, if you don't have more than the free amount right now, if you only have 5 gigabytes, you would want to also go into Manage right here, and from there, you will be able to buy more storage, and that way you can get up to however much you need. But iCloud storage is so inexpensive these days, it is absolutely worth it just to protect yourself. The other method that I do recommend is that you use Time Machine to back up the data on your Mac. Now, if you need help with Time Machine, yep, we got a class for that too. I'll include a link to that in the description of the video. The only thing I want to say about Time Machine, and again, sorry, this is my opinion, not all external hard drives are made equally. There are certain brands that I have found over the years in working with a lot of clients that tend to have very, very high fail rates. Unfortunately, one of the major brands that has this issue is also very heavily pushed by Apple corporate stores, as well as all the other big box stores. So if you need product recommendations for a backup hard drive, or for that matter, any products, one of the things I just want to make sure you guys are aware of is that is the whole reason why we created the Tech Talk America store. See, we don't actually sell anything. What we're doing is we are showing you where to go to get it, but we're just bringing you to the good products. Okay, that way you don't accidentally buy something that's, well, crap. So if you go to our store here, it's the direct address is store.techtalkamerica.com. I'll put a link to it. But for example, backup drives you'll find right in here. You'll find a whole bunch of different good ones. The one that I use, I'm kind of a power user. This is what I use, the Drobo Mini. It's not inexpensive, but what's great is it has 4 hard drives within it. So it'll kind of massage the data between all of them so that if even one of those fails, you still have all of your data. So that's my spiel on that. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed the class. Like I said, if you're watching us on YouTube, we do appreciate it if you hit that little thumbs up like button. Leave us a comment in the section below. And finally, before we go, we are now members of Patreon. Patreon is a great service for content creators like us. So if you would like to support what we do, you can have access to private classes with me that we do live twice a month. It's as little as $5 a month, gets you into Patreon. and then there's a few other benefits you get when you donate more. But our direct address to that is patreon.com/TechTalkAmerica. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Class dismissed.